I just want to escape reality for a couple hours tonight.
That is fair.
Well, welcome. Hopefully that we all can help. I'm sorry for the delay. Had a small need to uninstall and reinstall a few programs that decided to update right when I needed them the most.
Sounds about how it usually works.
Yes, but we are all here at roughly 4 minutes past the hard start, so without any delay whatsoever, I'm glad to see you all. I am glad to have you all here. I'm glad that you all are donating this time to our mutual enjoyment. And most importantly, I'd like to thank you all for all the time that we shared, and hopefully what will be an engaging step away from our reality into a world that's far darker with far more direct and problematic drama, tensions, and potential victories. So, before we dive completely in, is everyone okay?
Yes.
All right. And are there any questions?
I know that love will save us all.
Love or his distant cousin, but all the same. Are there any questions, hypotheses, corners we need to round off, or simply any curious flights of thought in regards to where we last left our coterie?
No, but I promise I will keep my out-of-character knowledge out of character.
Fair enough. All right. Well, being as we have no further questions, we have no hypotheses, we have no questions, suggestions, or corners we need to shave a hair or two off of, I'd like to say that this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 13, Episode 5, Done Drying Up. Being as everyone knows where they last were, we will start in reverse alphabetical order in regards to what are the primary considerations for this particular tale.
I guess that would be me.
Yeah.
Last I remember, were we on our way to go meet Vivi, or were we still dealing with the dead body and Lucio trying to pump me for information that I wasn't giving?
We were just outside the diner.
Yes. You are in the parking lot. In the arrival, being as the vehicle is in fact a newer one that Vivi had not easily recognized, and it blends so well with the other luxury vehicles. You all were able to arrive into the parking lot outside the Pancake House, and you are able to watch as the elder Dizzy and Vivi shared a moment. Two friends, or two mutually caring individuals who were forced into a close relationship due to a loss or any manner of vicissitudes of life and the immortality that the kindred enjoy. But from a distance, it is impossible to read their time together as anything but two people who clearly care or are coming to care for one another.
All right. Well, Sophia doesn't really have much of a dog in this fight, so she is going to wait for someone else to take the lead, probably Lucio.
All right. So as everyone divests from the vehicle, Sophia is waiting on the inciting incident, the first step, the plan, or hell, just a charge toward the window. Miriam.
I am mostly just following along with the group because all I know is we're supposed to do something about this girl, but I don't know her or significance or, any of the nuances of the relationships.
I see. So again, another wait, let's find out, let's decide what we're going to do. And as that is being, by dint of the shared space and consciousness therein, no one's actively actually staring at Lucio waiting for a sign. No one's waiting for him the merest lip turn or gaze or twitch of muscle, but it definitely for him feels as if that is in fact the case, because sitting there under the relatively bright light of this dining space is the brother of Dizzy, who they rescued from Redwood, as Redwood spilled his guts as to what Kindred Society was, what Kindred Society had been doing, what Kindred Society had done to him and his family. Having returned him to his life, his accountancy, him being a day trader of stocks and the various other financial weapons to wage war in that sector of society, it's hard to not remember how victimized he looked, how you'd heard without any actual proper address that he was in the hospital, and but lo and behold, here he is, Hale Harding. And there's Vivi, a smile you had only seen on her face once, and that was when she and Dizzy were leaving the coterie to head off to grab a bite and talk about what the evening was for them. Ever since then, including the fact that he spent a little bit of his immortality to ensure that she survived, there was mostly frowns. There was mostly coming to grips with their own death and the death of Dizzy. But seeing her smile, it's hard to not know that there could be or could have been a bright and vibrant person there. Yet they were twice affected by the actions of the coterie. Twice. And here they are. For the hat trick, her life in their hands. At least, they think her life is in their hands. And everyone's looking towards you. What do you do? What do you say? What do you know?
Lucio looks over to Miriam and Sophia first and says, I'd like to deal with Vivi on my own if possible, which means we're going to need to separate them. They don't know you two. So if you could possibly lure the brother away, that would make things a bit more convenient for me.
Mary will give a thumbs up.
By lure away, I assume you want him back.
Unharmed, please. And preferably without the knowledge that we exist. We, as in the collective kindred.
Sophia will just nod at that. Doesn't have anything witty to say.
And with nothing witty to say, as you're listening to this, seeing this, what are Hestia's intentions?
She did say she had to step away for a call. I assume she's still on it.
Well, that being the case, we will assume that she will return with some witticism or some other. And in the meantime, while that is being decided, going back in reverse order, Lucio, what is it that he's hoping to obtain? What is it that's on his actual mind? What are his plans? Miriam and Sophia are attractive enough where leading an elder gentleman such as the elder Dizic away shouldn't be a issue if they're only dealing with him. Sophia is, Vivi is particularly prickly knowing that the kindred exists, being part of the kindred, and having had workman-like expert level training in dealing with and planning and being paranoid, understanding the use of propaganda as a weapon. So, what are Lucio's actual plan? It's a public place. There are people, there are humans nearby. There are windows, big and bright, so you can see the entirety of the parking lot. So what is it that Lucio might, in fact, be planning?
So the full plan is basically lure the elder Dizic away so that Vivi's by herself for a little bit. And then I would like to try and get her and Lucio completely alone. And the way he'd attempt to achieve that is by luring Vivi outside after Dizic leaves. Possible way of doing that being steal his phone and send her a text saying, "Hey, can you come outside for a sec out back?" And then basically wait/follow her there. And then that's where Lucio will meet with her.
So having been tasked with luring the gentleman outside, how are Miriam and Sophia going to plot that action? Or they're not just going to plot it, they're just going to walk in, get up, move your ass.
Well, I mean, that's how Sophia would handle it. Does Miriam have a better idea?
Not really. I mean, I suppose if we had time, we could get more information, make a few calls, lure him out that way. But I don't know.
All right, so into the diner we go.
By we, you mean Sophia and Miriam?
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving into the space, it is very easy to see why a lot of late night drinkers, a lot of late night smokers, tokers, and the like would visit this place. Not simply because of what you have heard of the former house of Mama Walde, not what Miriam has experienced in the after parties of a disco, not the pre-planning parties where it was very easy to overhear a few of Mama Walde's opening benedictions. But the camaraderie and the actual fellowship that was part of just being connected with the movement, as closely aligned and yet far enough away as Miriam actually was. It is hard to see the Bahari in Chicago as anything but a beneficent organization. They cared after the homeless. They cared after the drug addict. They cared after the drunk. They cared after the senile and those who lacked full mental faculties. They provided them with as much grace, comfort, and shelter as they could. They supported a network of affiliated and non-affiliated shelters throughout the entirety of the city. One of the many things that were overlooked in regards to the Robin Hood image of Capone and his Napolitanos who helped the city, his Neapolitan Italians who moved here from New York, was that one of the many things they did, much like Bumpy Johnson did in Harlem, was they vindicated the poor. You ain't got no job, come see me tomorrow, I'll see if I can get you some work. You got no food, don't worry about it. I know a place. We'll go over here to the soup kitchen. One of the many things they did to ensure that their own safety and continued business while he was walking around, yes, in $50 Woolworth coats. While he was living the high life, he made sure that no one in his view, no one in his cipher suffered. And the Bahari did much the same. Yeah, Capone is a poor example because he did engage in murder, arson, and various other things. However, he understood that tending to those who couldn't tend to themselves bought him some measure of grace with the average local man who had eyes everywhere. Everyone knew someone who knew someone. So getting information, making sure they were secure, all of those things. And it is clear that not just Arzuli, but Mama Waldy followed those same principles. The people here, you notice when you walk in, a stack of pancakes at the average price at the average, Greasy Spoon diner anywhere in Chicago is $7. The average rasher of bacon, about $7. Here, you get a full breakfast sampler, pancakes, flapjacks and bacon and eggs, 2 eggs of choice. $7. It is roughly just under 45% of the average price, which means its profit margins don't exist, which means that it literally, even here, with these people who can pay, even here with these people who have clearly spent far too much money in the various bars in the area, they are providing a service to capture the hearts of those in their area. So moving into the space and seeing the, $200 blazers and seeing the snakeskin shoes and seeing the brand names, you realize this was not just a affectation. This was a resounding mission statement, even here in the business that no longer has the sponsorship or presence of a Mawalde, who no longer is affiliated with Arzuli, and the win though she may be, who no longer has the full support of the Bahari network, because that is in fact what it was, a network. Those principles are still being practiced. These people are still receiving some grace. And as you all move toward the table where Vivi and the elder Dizzy are sitting, she sees you all first, and her smile changes. You're not exactly sure how to pinpoint it because you've never had an opportunity to sit down and talk to her. You don't know who she is, but there's a change there, and it's a minor thing. Your subconscious mind picks it up, but it is definitively there. What do you all choose to do as you approach the table?
Does Miriam have a plan?
I mean, that's like asking the wind if it blows. No. You know, she'll pull out a business card, lay it down on the table, and just step back.
All right. As you sit the card down on the table, and Vivi looks you both up and down. Two things. Did either of you blush for the evening? Sophia is almost preternaturally pale to begin with, but just curious if she bothered to approximate a human seeming. And Miriam, tattooed though she is, and as hungry as she is, did she risk tempting the beast, entering into the space unblushed or blushed?
I don't remember if I did beginning of the night or not, but let's say that yes, we're going to do that because she's not crazy.
It's not normally a thing Sophia thinks about, so probably not, unless it's obvious that others are doing it, and she'll go, "Oh, maybe I should too."
Well, Hestia and Lucio typically don't, so it's not something that's usually done. We were just curious. And I need you to roll for Silvio for me. Would you roll 5 dice for me, please, when you get the opportunity? Oh, okay. All right, so as you all approach the table, Sophia, I believe Sophia is a hair taller than Miriam. Let me just give a quick double check. So we can approximate this accurately. Not that either of them are on the truly small size, but yes, Sophia is a hair taller, 5'9" versus Miriam's 5'8". So it is clear that these statuesque women who move through the space with a purpose in mind are eye-catching. It is almost impossible to not compare the two. You have Sophia in her almost phantasmally paleness, outfitted and dressed much like someone who lives in all of those fantabulous places that the influencers take pictures of. It is clear that she is the very definition of moneyed based on how she dresses and her poise. There's a natural directness that states you should look away if she notices you watching. And then you have Miriam, who, without a shadow of a doubt, is a known entity. While most people believe, well, depending on where you are, the tattoos, the tattooed are, commonplace. You see them all the time. Everyone knows someone who tattoos. Their tattoo part is going on, but there is an echelon of tattoo artists who become known for their stylings, for their sketches, for their prep work. It is they're notable within and without the culture, but in the culture they are akin to watching some minor actor, not necessarily the star of the show, but someone who's on a show that you absolutely love. They're not the main cast or main ensemble, but they're always there, so you come to think that they're part of your family by extension, even if they only have a sentence every episode. That's Miriam. She's a notable, and their height, both Miriam's hard to describe colored hair, the fact that it's dark but it's light, it's flowing, but yet it gives the hint of being short because it frames her face somehow with its length and weight. And Sophia's clear, everyday, having more than most people will have in several months or several years. They cut an interesting image. And while you can, from the outside, watch Hestia as the two ladies catch eyes, and you see people murmuring and looking. Some jackass is actually, because he doesn't realize you guys are under the same group, he's facing the window, but he raises his phone and is recording them as they move through the space, because he wants to either put it on his Twitter feed or Instagram, or say that these are people he may have known or something that he's seen. It is definitely a World Star life without actually being uploaded to World Star. Watching this happen from the outside, is there anything that Hestia is thinking of or attempting or intending?
Well, Essie is the speed and the strength right now, so she is going to get close enough so that if she has to step in, she can, but for the most part, she's going to wait and see how this goes at first. Like, she doesn't want to mess them up by interrupting, by having Vivi see her. Because obviously she may or may not really know the other two, but obviously Hestia is going to be something that sets off alarms if Hestia shows up. So she's just going to kind of stick back with Lucio a little bit and then watch the other two and just be prepared to kind of run in if she has to.
Okay. So much like most of the patrons inside of the dining space, she's watching, she's waiting, she's pensively aware as to it going sideways or otherwise. And Lucio, is there anything that he's on? Because much like Lucio and Hestia, Silvio is watching, though Silvio is watching from a little closer. He leaves those two at the car and moves half the distance closer. So while you all are outside, he's a hair closer to the window, closer to the door, closer to his mistress.
Lucio is currently would have his heightened senses up to try and listen in on any potential issues that might arise, but he's trying to focus on keeping track of Vivi, just trying to see if she's gonna catch on or not, and if so, he's trying to just figure out plan B.
Okay. Would you and Hestia be so kind as to roll your wits plus either firearms or wits plus subterfuge?
Would any specialties apply in this case or no?
Ambush.
Okay, so it's the same for me regardless. Cuatro.
All right. So while Silvio didn't put it together anywhere near fast enough, you see that he's prepared to bodily, as he always is, protect his mistress, to protect Sophia. And while he'll help you all, his goal has always been her continued existence. Always. Every step of the way. Through this world into the next. Just like it was when you all went to Redwood's house. Just like it was the first time you went to Redwood's house and Arsenio was shot, him stepping in front of Sophia. In the path and trajectory of where the bullet might have come from, where the shot was heard. His large frame moving to shield Sophia. and Vivi fired a shot, a warning shot that was designed to put Lucio on the ground. Not permanently, but enough to know that he'd done fucked up now. So as Silvio moves closer to the window, not close enough to immediately be within view, but in the periphery of someone who has been trained to keep an eye on their surroundings. His large form out there in the parking lot, and Sophia's model height moving through the building. As Miriam pauses to put her card on the table, it is clear that shift in smile of Vivi was recognition as Silvio entered her peripheral, as the two, Sophia and Silvio, triggered a memory. You all realize that, as the saying goes, the jig is up, the music is stopped, the piper needs paying. So in order of operations, if Miriam would like to hazard a guess as she sits the card, and the Elder's Dizzy looks down at it because you all approached over his shoulder, and Vivi's smile has not changed but the once as she steps back to wait. Is there anything else on her mind? Is there anything else that is in her intentions to accomplish?
Nope, just setting the card down and stepping back and waiting.
And Sophia, with all of the many moments of experience in court, both the Camarilla as well as the Hakata courts, and noticing that someone has changed their presentation of themselves, no matter how minorly, usually presaging something. When Miriam sits her card down, is there something that Sophia might be intending?
Knowing what little she knows about Vivi, she will probably activate her toughness. but other than that, she will look at her, not lock eyes with her or anything, but look in her direction and very quietly say, "It does not have to go hard."
And noticing what you all notice, Lucio and Hestia, what is it that you are intending to do?
So wait, I've noticed the shift in her smile.
Mm-hmm.
Unless she's shit. Hestia looks to Lucio, I guess we're going in? Question mark.
Lucio looks to Hestia and says, "No, now it's time for Plan B." And Lucio is going to activate Tenebrous Avatar.
I see.
His plan is to basically sneak in as a shadow and hide in Vivi's shadow, essentially. So that no matter what happens, he can at least tail her to wherever she goes.
Okay. All right.
And beforehand, he is going to make sure that he is at least unseen by the general public.
All right. Well, that being the case,
Hestia looks at Lucio. I mean, we could have just flattened her tires so she can't get away.
Excellent idea. You go do that.
so we're gonna stay in alphabetical for this.
He's gonna go flatten tires
for these next few moments. Heshia's going to flatten the tires. Easy enough. She keeps her sacrificial dagger on her. Lucio is shifting into shadow, literally dropping and being swallowed into the darkness, dropping his physical form as it is absorbed into all of the darkness around it, trying to avoid the very glaring for him bright lights of the parking lot. And while that is happening, Miriam, would you be so kind as to roll your... If you're going to catch what is being thrown towards you, dexterity plus athletics. Unfortunately, it is wide enough and large enough that it is going to be more than a few bits of effort, because it is wide enough and large enough to hit both you and Sophia. And Sophia, if you're going to dodge or attempt to catch what's being thrown at you and Miriam, would you roll either a strength to catch or dexterity to dodge and athletics?
Okay.
I'm rolling raw strength, so I assume I'm trying to bat it away from me because I don't want to catch it either.
Okay.
I just want to get out of the way.
All right. All right. So, as the smile shifts, and Silvio comes into her peripheral, and Lucio, just for speed, would you be so kind as to roll your dex and athletics for me here, just to approximate your speed in covering the distance as this inky, dark, not quite shadow, because the oblivion darkness is not in fact an actual shadow. It is the very stuffs of the Shadowlands. It is the very foundation of everything that is the antithesis to life. Every time you reach into that space between you and it, you are touched by that relation. It was not really a relation. They, he, she are just old friends of the family who have somehow managed to exhaust all of their connections with the rest of the world. They're always in a state of too dry yet somehow moist chill because of the lack of circulation. And every time you go to visit your family, they happen to be there, and they insist on a pinch of the cheek or a holding of a hand, or when they ask for something, they do so by one shaking, vibrating finger, seemingly too long and too fat, and always with that hint of moistness touching your hand, like a poke from death itself, to be perfectly honest. Their thin, emaciated form belie the fact that everything you would like to eat, they somehow have managed to gourmandize that empty of teeth mouth that just sucks and suckles on things, and it's always there in the periphery of your mind. You can't say anything because they're technically family. They've known your family longer than you've been alive, and they've been accepted as uncle or the auntie, and they bear no relation to the family, though all the children are told to respect them as such. And every time they touch you, there's a chill that runs up your spine and your hair stands on end. And quiet is kept. You haven't told your parents or your siblings, but every time you think of something scary, their image runs right through your mind behind it. The clown from It, that was fine. It was scary. It had you jumping out of your seat. But as you close your eyes and try to think of anything that would be scarier than, so that you can ignore how terrified of clowns you suddenly now are, their image is there waiting, sucking on some semi-soft candy that they treat as if it's made of stone, and you can hear the empty as they eat and gourmandize every bit of everything. No matter how soft the food that they shovel into that empty mouth is, it takes them a while to chew and swallow and somehow make it wet enough to slide down that very thin throat. The throat that vibrates and looks like a snake as it swallows a rat twice its size. Those eyes that seem to take in everything and nothing. And they know your name, your real name, not the name that your family calls you, and they always call you by it, but only when no one's around. That's the feeling you have when you tap into that portion of the other side, that there's no reason to be, but you are very much affected by their presence. And as you do so in this particular moment, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll one stain remorse roll for me, please? Because somehow, when you tapped into that, something tapped into you. Something came across when you reached into that endless, never-ending well of power.
So I think Lucio actually has 2 stains from the last time he rolled a 1 or a 10.
Yes.
Boop.
Yes.
Is willpower an option for this, or?
Normally, no, but in this particular case, yes.
Wish me luck.
And though something came across, something entered into your world. You were watching some show with Faye, Stella snuggled up in the recliner, half dozing, Arsenio in the kitchen preparing the next course of the meals that him and Faye and Stella chugged down as if their lives depended on them staying properly energized. Partially through Faye's non-stop smoking and partially through the heightened need for sustenance that comes with the ghost of a beast from your blood in Arsenio's case. I remember watching some show about equivalent exchange and how everything that we're doing to the world will be done back to humanity, and that stuck with you, the idea of equivalent exchange. And in this moment, you know that tapping into all of that unending power of the shadow stuff, that while you gained an ability, while you were able to tap into its power, something else came across, something dark, something malevolent, something inhuman for the first time having access to the skin lands. And it moved through you as if you were nothing more than a doorway. And it is out there. And you're not sure what it is, but you know it is aware of you. And while you slide across the ground, avoiding all of the bright lights of the parking lot, and as Hesha has to stab out tires, not quite sure which vehicle is Vivi's, but making sure that no one who parked in this lot tonight will be driving home, because you stab one tire, you poke one tire, there's a chance they could change it. But if you stab 2 tires, nobody carries two donuts. Nobody carries 2 spares. Not anymore. And there is a surety that the tow trucks and the AAA will make a mint off of this parking lot once Hestia finishes. While inside, as Silvio prepares to make a dash forward to help his everything, to help Sophia through this moment, the Elder Dizzik is kicked from the table into Miriam and Sophia. As that's happening, as he's flying, caught as off guard by the 2 women of the coterie. The restaurant goes dark. And it's as if all the lights have gone out in one blink of an eye. The Elder Dizzik's body, surprisingly muscled, as if over the last few weeks he has been working out. Over the last few weeks, as if he's training to regain some of the clear muscle definition of his youth, to regain some physical presence that one would not need being a pencil pusher, a bean counter, someone who is desk-bound, but as if he is in fact driven towards it. Having not seen him Since all those weeks ago when dealing with Redwood, Sophia did not mark him down as someone who was physically capable. Yet as his body lands against her and Sophia, it is clear that despite his bulk, he doesn't have the paunch of a man his age. He doesn't have the softness of a man entering into his mid to late 50s. No, there's far too much muscle being developed beneath that suit coat, beneath that blazer. It is clear that this is a person who is attempting to tend towards their body, and not in the way that's flashy, not in the way that's just for looks. This is muscle from someone who is, well, on a mission. And as the three of you all go tumbling back into the bar behind you all, where the desserts and the counter help actually operate from, with the world immediately going black, what is it you all are attempting to do?
So just to clarify, Sophia and I suddenly have this guy on top of us.
Yes.
Okay.
It seemed as when she looked up and saw Sophia with the Silvio outside of her window, she kicked through, flipped him with enough force to send him flying, feet off the ground, arms akimbo, into you all. You heard the clatter of the table. You saw the motion. You saw this blur of weight coming towards you. And as it connects, you realize that, yeah, to add all due injurious insult, she threw a person at you all to distract you. She threw a person at you, not the table, not a drink, not your card back into your face. This little Latina threw a person at you.
Okay. All right. Well, they have been separated. Mission accomplished. So I guess Miriam will just look up him, or, you know, in the darkness now, and laugh a little bit. It's like, well, pleased to meet you.
So are we in darkness or inky blackness?
Oh, Sophia, you know far too much. Because as everything goes dark, you know that it is not dark. It is, in fact, blackness. You, unfortunately, you know what they say about having a little knowledge and it being very, very dangerous? You know what this is the touch of. You, being kindred, are not as affected by it. But for those other living, breathing entities and those who have bothered to rouse in this moment, this is as close to death as you had every fear of coming. The air is cooler. It rattles along your skin as if some predatory animal is using you to scent mark itself. It is pressing down on your chest, causing a difficulty breathing. It is the very stuff of the grave, the very stuff that Sophia taps into when demanding the respect she deserves from those other denizens of the other side. This is very much the stuff of the void.
Alrighty, well, there's not a whole lot I can do because I can't see and I can't hear. There's a guy on me, right?
Yes, the Dizzy fellow. How dare he be strong and capable and seemingly of no real effect when keeping the small Blish Vivi from flanking him like, well, a distraction, like chaff.
Well, I'm a little on the hungry side. Let's go ahead and just bite into him since I can't do much of anything else. At least the inky blackness will muffle his screams.
Yes. Okay.
I like hanging out with you guys. I've been eating better than in a long time.
Lucio, even being in your tenebrous state, It is as if you are drawn towards all of that otherness, as if what you are, not the mask you wear to interact with your pseudo peers and your kindred around you, but what you are, the true darkness of your being, is pulled, drawn towards all of that lovely darkness. There is safety, there is security, there in all of that glorious touch of beyond is, well, more of you.
Is Lucio actually able to see through the darkness?
Normally, it wouldn't be an issue because you are, in fact, able to, with Oblivion Sight, see through all manner of darkness, including Oblivion. In this particular case, it's not you seeing through Oblivion. The Shadow Realm is here. That's what is actually summoned with that small little ability to create shadow. It is all Oblivion. You can attempt to dive into it so that you can see through the water and find persons if that's your target. If you get inside of it, you will be able to see everything in there because you are, in fact, shadow.
Then that's his goal, because his goal right now is to find Vivi ASAP.
Consider it done at the end of this next upcoming turn as Sophia inflicts the absolute, very real existential dread that comes with the bite of her clan upon the elder Dizzy, as she buries him in a pain so succinct that there is nothing but it. It is all-consuming and is the focus of his being. Every fiber of his person is attempting to fight free of it with no success. And in this darkness, in this never-ending dread, what is it that Sophia is attempting to do?
Just get a little drink because she can't do anything else. She is almost hoping that the ruse of throwing him at us is all it was, so maybe she will draw the attention to herself by attacking her companion. But if not, we'll get a little drink, so it's kind of a win-win.
And Sophia, in this absence of things and you speaking into the void and hearing only your voice, is there something that's most pressing on your intention to do?
With the Dizzy or
Miriam? And yeah, is there anything that you're attempting to do at this point, Miriam?
Well, I'm not a big fan of this blackness where I can't see, so I and my little noodle arms will be trying to get the Elder Dizik and myself out so I can potentially cloud memory and make him think this is just all a blackout. I don't know.
All right, sounds like a plan. So first things first, I need to settle one small bit between Sophia and Miriam in this particular case. As you're wrenching him free or attempting to tear him out of this space and get free of this, so you can hold him long enough to get eye contact, even in this darkness, you think it might help. Would you and Sophia do me a favor, roll your strength plus brawl? High as possible, of course.
Off of one each.
That is absolutely phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. And something in this dark is attempting to stop you. And this goes for both Sophia and Miriam. Something in this darkness is attempting to stop you from doing what you're trying to do. Something is working counter purposes to your goal. Something is attempting, from Miriam's standpoint, something is attempting to pull him further from your grasp, to keep him where he is, to keep this human here in all of this darkness. And while you can't hear him, the flailing arms about you let you know that something horrible is happening. You can't hear him, you can't see him, but there's something horrible happening just based on the jerking and attempt to fight that is all over his body that you are now enmeshed in, that you're wrapped around trying to pull free. His attempting to fight is a problem. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. There's no way, and yet it's just a mess. And from Sophia's standpoint, you have never had a human, once exposed to your actual bite, successfully fight free. Normally it's because you've all taken the steps to make sure that they're held, and to make sure that they can't squirm away, that they can't fight themselves free. Yet even when they are able to fight themselves free, the pain is so excruciating that they are rarely ever successful in doing so. Yet it is all you can do to keep latched on, to keep him from tearing free of you, to keep him from escaping this beautiful, succinct pain that you are giving to him. How dare he, fucker.
Some people got no appreciation for anything.
And while that moment is happening, and unbeknownst to you all, we must take our step outside of the darkness, because Lucius has entered the scene. He is slinking along, moving into the darkness that makes him far more himself. It is cool and pleasing. It's the perfect sort of day to have boat drinks. A nice pina colada with a full umbrella and plenty of refills in the blender. And as Lucio experiences that comfort of easing into, home, the world opens up around him. The people, the myriad humans here and there, the counter help, those who were sitting at table just a moment ago complaining on their food just being warm. And it is not scalding hot. I wanted it fresh. And all of those little minor complaints that drunkards and, druggers make at this hour of the evening, face down in their food, holding their throat, attempting to squeeze some air into it, holding on for dear life as they turn apoplectic with the shock of lack of oxygen, lack of sight, lack of sound. And while they have none of those things, even in the shadow form, Lucio's able to perceive all of the beauty and the deaths that are about to happen. He also sees far too brightly Vivi firing out the window and leaping out into the world.
The window that Lucio came through, or did Lucio not go through a window?
No, he couldn't go through the window. He'd have to shatter the window. And he can't do that as a shadow.
But you know what he can do as a shadow?
Disappear from sight.
Arms of Armin and pull her back in. Actually, that is something he could do, but he actually wants to follow her.
Excellent. And while you charged forward in pursuit mode, as you find the vehicle that you believe she may have arrived in, you are a little dismayed that it is not, in fact, the shelter's van. It'd be nice. It's nothing like damaging your own property for a mission to show that you are wholly invested, that you are here and willing to give as much as it takes to achieve your goal, whatever that goal might be. In light of the van, you believe, knowing her as you do, that in this case, where she feels safe, where she doesn't need to hide or blend in, she'd, of course, do exactly that. The most ordinary, average vehicle of those gathered in the lot. And just for safekeeping, along the way, you've managed to, puncture a few tires here and there to keep the vehicles, because you may be wrong. You have every reason to believe that you are, in fact, right. But just in case you're not as accurate as you might hope to be. You've made sure that the other vehicles are not able to leave either. Better safe than sorry, especially in this particular case. If she has a week to plan, it is, well, as they say, game over, man. Game over. And then you hear it. The sound that you've grown far too accustomed to in this day and age, in this moment, in this epoch of your immortality. Gunfire. Shattering glass.
So much for low key. She turns towards the sound.
You've seen movies. Hell, they were a good part of your youth. The black and white that used to come on TV, and you sit and watch the shows as they came one after the other. It's not like you could decide what came next, but the TV guy was your friend. And then when the TV guy wasn't there, you always had, Ebony and Jet. You could always look and see what was coming on next. And in those moments, there were tons of cowboy movies where the cowboys would either get thrown out of windows, or they would throw people out of windows, or God forbid, there was the moments when you would watch the $6 Million Man and he'd go leaping off of these tall buildings through windows. And that's kind of what you feel like. You're watching a badass do what badass do. And that badass happens to be Vivi. Much like some action hero or some B movie you've seen somewhere along the way, she fires out of the window. Her bullet is just missing Silvio, not because he's not an easy target to hit, but clearly because she was only aiming over his head, which is a feat in and of itself, considering how large he is. And the shots over his head were designed to weaken the glass, and she throws herself through it with far more strength than her size should belie. Much like yourself, it is clear that she is possessed of more supernatural gifts than one would immediately think possible.
I watch to see whether she lands and rolls or lands and keeps running. Kind of tracking her so that before she gets to a vehicle I can tackle, but for now I'm good to keep a very close eye.
There's nothing so engaging as watching someone at the top of their game, whether it's watching Michael Jordan, watching Walter Payton, or watching Peyton Manning, or watching any of the myriad high caliber quarterbacks in the NFL, or watching a 3-time medal winner do a perfect gymnastics routine, or watching someone race down the mountain during the winter slaloms. It is impressive watching a master of their craft. And the fact that somehow she has not only shunted herself through the window out into the parking lot, she's managed to miss Silvio and hits the ground in full stride. The speed that's normally lost when leaping across anything does not seem to in fact be there. She hits the ground in a run. And following behind her, a very long shadow cast by the bright lights of the parking lot, which don't quite reach to cover her, but make sure that she is well seen. Her hair trailing behind her like a cape, her clothing layered as per usual, and the smoking CZ in her hand make this a very Kodak moment. A moment that if you were of the modern persuasion, you'd break out your phone, because it's not every day you see such skill.
And do I have a good idea about where she might just end up if she keeps running?
Yeah, across the streets.
So I am going to, in short order, put myself directly in her path so that she has no time to stop herself, and raise the blade to heart level on her. so that she runs directly into it if she can't stop herself.
So you're gonna stab her. Nice. It's always helpful. Always a good thing.
No, I'm gonna stake her, basically.
All right, so would you do me a favor, and first things first, cycling back around, Lucio, are you still attempting to simply follow?
Currently, yes. I am still basically trying to be Vivi's shadow.
All right, excellent. That's going to be a dependent on the results of Hesh's action, a stamina and athletics, because you're literally just trailing behind, keeping her in sight. And while that is happening on your end, Miriam, Sophia, the lights spring back on with such speed, it's almost as if they were never off. As the darkness is pulled away and as if it is flying away from you, as you, Miriam, realize that your arms are wrapped around this Dizzy who is screaming his bloody head off. His voice is ragged as if he screamed his vocal cords into nothing more than bruises and abrasions. Sophia, your mouth covered in the remnants of this particular Dizzy, it is a surprisingly sanguine resonance. It is surprisingly tasty. He's surprisingly hearty. It's as if in this moment he has had, well, up until this moment, he has had nothing but a pleasurably exciting moment. Nothing fearful, no cowardice there in the blood, none of the sour spice of someone who is melancholic. No, this is a lively individual who has had hope and enjoyment, who's all too happy. Do you release your drinkage or do you hold on?
Well, considering the lights are on and everyone can see me, I probably ought to stop and lick that shut.
You think?
Well, as everyone can or could see you, yes, with the lights back on, the fact that not everyone is getting up from their clear fainting due to lack of oxygen. Not everyone is returning to themselves. There's I don't know if you guys have ever had the opportunity to be knocked out or watch someone actually be knocked out. The eyes are open, the head is moving, but there's clearly no recollection of what they're actually seeing and what they're actually experiencing. You see people reaching for their chests and some are touching their faces, but there is a clear absence in this moment. Like all of the oxygen that they were being deprived, all of the blood flow that they lost hasn't quite returned to their brain just yet. They're not quite sure what it is that they just experienced. For many of them, you are sure they will more than likely change their lives because they've come so close to death. Others, however, you are sure don't have that opportunity. There's a knowledge in Sophia that upon death, the energies released are enough to power, well, whatever you so choose. That's the reason why a sacrifice is often used to power certain ceremonies and rituals. And in this moment, there are a multiplicity of deaths that have occurred due to their aforementioned previous drug use and alcohol dependency and age. All of those factors conspire that in the collateral damage of what just took place, when opening the doorway from this world into the next and filling it with the very soul stuff of that other world, it is clear that some did not manage to survive it. The soul forges will be hot tonight.
It's truly a shame that we don't have time to just bask in it.
Even though Miriam, you abandoned through the stress and various other things your pursuit of being involved in the medical field professionally. There is no doubt in your mind that you are at a crime scene with a multiplicity of deaths. You're not sure exactly why, but it is clear from the bluing of the lips and the whitening around the eyes from the lack of oxygen that you see in various faces across the room, as you see all over the Dizzy, who technically, based on age, should be one of those who have died, but something kept him fighting for his life. Something kept his adrenaline up, and he has managed to survive based on what you could tell of his age, something that should have been a passing for him. His new, you're not sure, you don't know that it's new, but his new physical regimen and his activity level being increased and him oxygenating his blood so thoroughly has helped him along with the very real fight for his life. But you know that he is one of the lucky ones, even as much pain as whatever it was he was underneath. Trying not to look at Sophia. Try not to truly put 1 and 1 together to get 11 for what just happened to him.
Poor Miriam. She wants to go try to help the people who are clearly suffering. But priority 1, I guess, is the guy that's on top of her, getting him out still. She's not sure why, other than, it seemed there was some sort of connection between all of these people that I'm with and this guy and the girl that has now disappeared. So yeah, same plan, getting him out and trying to mess with his mind a little bit.
It's always nice to mess with people's mind.
Right.
So while you scrambled forward, the window where they're sitting has been burst out. There's glass shards all over, and Silvio's knocking the rest out so he can climb through. His large frame is there, and while that is happening, you are able to see a little bit past him. Not enough to make out everything outside in the night, but it is clear something is happening, and Lucio is nowhere around. In the meantime, would you be so kind as to roll your strength plus melee -1 with your DC being 5. How enmeshed has Hestia been in the practicing of the rituals necessary for certain spell work? I understand that she's worked at her warding. She's worked at the transmutation of her vitae into weaponry. She's worked at transmuting others' vitae into other substances outside of their being, to burn it away, as it were. But has she worked at her ritual? Has she worked at the flaying of skin and the wounding of things?
Mostly her rituals lately have been based around protecting things, not wounding them. Anything she knew about wounding things came from before, because of the whole turning her blood to poison and drawing other people's blood out or burning their blood away. So that's kind of where she's at with that.
Well, the reason why I ask, because even dead flesh, even the kindred physiology is built on the standard human physiology. And with the speed that she was moving, and with her inherent strength, her outstretched blade aiming for the center mask of Vivi, there's an often touted philosophical question. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? And based on where she was aiming and, shifting of movement and what have you, there's a small difference. She doesn't pierce Vivi's heart. She punctures and tears free a portion of Vivi's lung and 2 of her ribs. There is no less damage than if she was still alive, but there's less pain. There's the fact that it doesn't actively stop her, but knocks her off course. There is the reality that in that moment, all bets are off. All semblances of friendships, associations, all of that is gone. The same lesson of you done fucked up now that she attempted to dole out to Lucio, it's the same lesson that Hestia has visited upon her. How that's taken is anyone's guess in this particular moment, because everything is happening, as all things do in a situation such as this, all too fast indeed. No intentions.
So, since it doesn't stop her right away, I guess Hestia's just gonna do what the only thing she can think of: throw herself at her lower body and take her down.
Alright, sounds like a plan. You go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl. And while this is happening, Lucio, being aware as to the fight for survival that is taking place, what is it that Lucio is attempting to do?
What is Vivi actually doing right now? Is she attempting to retaliate, or is she just making a run for it?
That's a good question. Are you waiting to find out, or are you going to leap into the action?
Lucio's gonna leap into the action by engulfing Vivi. With the Tenebrous Avatar form, he's going to engulf Vivi in that form.
Excuse me. Okay. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and read your strength plus brawl? All right, so a lot of people thought that it was an affectation when they first witnessed it back all those many years ago in the grainy football films of yore, when receivers would high step. They, do basically, knee lifts to propel themselves forward and keep their legs up and out of the way of those who were attempting to tackle them or to bring them down by wrapping their legs low. As Hesius turns and spins with far more athleticism than one would expect of such a voluptuously round, short woman, Vivi high steps out of the way. She doesn't stiff arm Hestia, but she definitely removes herself from where Hestia might be landing. And just as Hestia is scrambling to get to her feet, 3-point stance and leap again to try to scrabble and grab Hestia to grab Vivi to bring her down, the world goes dark. The sounds of the street disappear. The world is gone. While back at the pancake shop, and Silvio steps through to make sure that Sophia is okay. And Miriam is tugging and pulling the elder Dizzy along towards the window, towards escape. What is it that is everyone's intentions at this point?
Same deal. Get him out. Mess with his mind.
Okay, so nothing has changed for Miriam. She's still focused on making eye contact with the elder Dizzy to get him to what exactly?
It's a combination of a small scale blackout and, some natural gas making everyone pass out. Fine. Normal.
Okay. Which dominate ability is she attempting to utilize?
She will be attempting to use Cloud Memory.
All right, excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus dominate? Making eye contact with him, having just survived fighting for his life, him being in the most pain that he has ever been in, is a lot easier than one would suspect. And as Silvio comes through and Miriam goes out, what is it that Sophia is attempting to do? Because Silvio's large form is there, gun in his right hand as he offers his left to help her to her feet.
Looks merit count into it.
Sure.
Sophia will wipe her mouth with the back of her hand, give Silvio a little wink while she says, "The fucker broke my tooth," and in case any of their one is still alive, and then she will switch to binding fetter because there's no time like the present to gather some mementos.
Alright. This seems like a good thing to willpower on, so that'll be a total of 4.
That is an investment that is, without a shadow of a doubt, an investment. It is most assuredly one of those things that should have long-lasting ramifications. Many people don't realize that getting someone's gaze is not necessarily automatic, and not something that's easy. People do everything they can to avoid looking each other in the eye, outside of lovers, or would-be lovers, or people who earnestly and honestly care for the other person. Eye contact is not something that is maintained for any period of time, and it's not something that's easily given, especially in this day and age. We all have screens that we engage ourselves with. We avoid the world around us, and we don't realize more often than not just how something as small as a pair of glasses minimizes the efficacy of eye contact. In this moment, with Miriam plying her trade and forcing the elder Dizzy to forget the last few moments, she realizes something that easily evades our gaze. His glasses are Invisalign bifocals. But as far as Miriam can tell, looking him in his eyes, greeting him, there's nothing wrong with his eyes. There's no discoloration, there's no cataracts forming, there's nothing in the structures of his eye that states that he should need such glasses on a consistent. Now, of course, she's not an optometrist or ophthalmologist, so she doesn't know the shape of his eye. He may have astigmatism. He may have any number of small granular differences that makes him need glasses. But these glasses, these bifocals, have a small tint to them. Not enough that makes it seem as if they're sunglasses or driving glasses, but there is a small tint to them, an almost reflective quality in the glass that is normally not there. She's dealt with enough patients and clients coming into the parlor who wore glasses or who had various needs for ophthalmological care. And there is something clearly different about his glasses. Not in such a way that would stand out. For most people, again, they avoid eye contact. Hence, nobody really pays that much attention to another's glasses except for the shape and the color. But having to peer through them, having to catch his gaze and hold it, there is a resistance that is not solely his. And as that realization dawns, Silvio helps Sophia up to her feet and back out the window. Instead of walking through the establishment back out the front door, they step back out the window to find Miriam crouched with the elder Dizzy looking up into her eyes and pause for a moment.
I'm just checking to make sure I didn't disconnect. Did I miss something?
I don't believe so. We're waiting. Sophia and Miriam, who are coming together through the open window with Miriam crouched over the elder Dizzy, making eye contact and erasing, scrambling his mind.
So I had tasted his blood. I don't know if I would be able to tell, since I'm not a Tremere or anything, if maybe he had been ghouled.
Do you have Bloodhound?
I do not.
He was too fucking happy. Blood had a little sweetness to that, all of that delicious, warm savoriness. And perfectly honest, while most humans will fight the kiss from you, he managed to survive fighting the kiss longer than most others, because there is a point of diminishing returns where the screaming and fighting for one's own life within one's own being diminishes the strength that they're able to rouse to actually mount an affirmative defense of themselves. His defense, even in what you knew was all around you, did not fail, did not falter.
We need to bring him as leverage. I do not think he is what he appears to be. Perhaps we have zip ties or something in the trunk. We put them in the car. Where'd the other two go?
Not a clue. Gestures in a random direction. Anywhere?
I assume we don't see them anywhere.
No. There is a. Well, let's just be direct, shall we? In this day and age of in almost every intersection in Chicago being filmed on camera, there is a wide tear in the world as you are able to see a column of oblivion, a column of the void in the center of the street. A wide enough column that it is clear that something huge and large and higher in the hierarchy of race tore a hole in the veil and stepped through. While everyone else is seeing it as an SCP event or some other, maybe some industrial light and magic wizardry or some FX that someone is projecting out into the street, you know it for what it is. That is the very stuff of the other side. That is the very soul of the dead.
I will cuss a lot in Italian.
Miriam will look confused.
Then I will look again to Silvio. Fucking Lissandra always to make a show to like children with fireworks. Can we do something with this man? We have to figure out where they've gone. Shouldn't be too hard. We'll just file the holes in reality.
Speaking of holes in reality, Lucio has experience with being in a tenebrous state, with dealing with two type of entities: those who could do much the same, and those who were absolute putty in his hands. Because while in this state, there is nothing physical that he can do. Yet, also while in this state, he is impervious. He is impenetrable. He is everlasting. And most things that cannot do the same as he can are frozen with the coldness of death. They are lost and adrift in the absence of everything. Oh, speaking of which, hey Hestia, it's good to see you, floating in the middle of nothingness, lost to all semblance of reality. Because everything around you is too dark to pierce through. Everything that is now consuming where you are is, well, not. There's, as a scientist, there is the very real principle that nothing can be destroyed, that energy merely changes state, and blah, 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 so forth and so on. Mass equals what it equals. However, in this particular case, in this particular moment, for the third time in the entirety of her existence, she has knowledge and is presented with the fact that there is an absence of everything, that there is a point where all energy might in fact be destroyed, and she, for the third time in her existence, is awash in it. The old saying of not being able to see the nose in front of your face, it is very clear and very true. Even her unbeating heart is absent to her in this particular moment. The darkness is so deep. It is very well pulling in all the light, including what little light remains in Hestia herself. And while that moment is happening for Hestia, and Lucio has Vivi wrapped and ensconced, she just continues moving. She continues moving forward, because for her, the thing that she's learned over these last few weeks, these last few months, is that there's a darkness in her that she is able to fully embrace, and that there's no space, there's no spot of darkness, there's no absence of light that does not respond to her will, except for this, which is all over her and blocking everything around her temporarily. But unlike other kindred, unlike other beings, this darkness is home, and she's able to continue on her way.
We'll see how long that lasts. Quick clarifying question. The draining ability in Tenebrous Avatar, does it work on Kindred as well?
It can. Give me one quick second. I'll give you the system for attempting.
Is that what happened when you and Blakeney fought? Like you were taking bites out of each other or something like that?
I mean, that was just a full-on beatdown between each other. Because technically neither of us could drain the other because we were both in that state. So there was no blood to drain.
Oh.
Yes, hello?
Yes, still here. Give me a quick second. Just double checking one particular aspect. Hestia, you are reduced by... shit. Would you be so kind, Lucia, to roll your strength plus brawl? But Hestia, your current state is considered 3 dice less. Your die pools, because of the absence of everything. There's nothing to balance yourself again or act against, with you not being able to see or interact with the world at large, just so that you're aware mechanically. Your strength plus brawl is not normally an attack that would be effective, but we are giving you an opportunity to target Vivi in this form and see if you can drain her without touch.
In that case, can I abuse this attempt and rouse the blood to increase my strength?
You don't have a physical form, so no.
Strength and brawl. That's about as high as it can get.
Holy shit. All right. Well. All right. Fate.
I love when our storyteller is just as shocked as we are.
Fate has every intentions to support Lucio in his attempt. And as successful as he is in draining those held within his tenebrous state, filled though he is with kindred vitae, there is something unsettling about the fact that Vivi lurches and leaps free. There's something unsettling about knowing that a wounded tiger is loose in the city. One who is... You hit it dead on the head. We give you a value of 1. Who is wounded and severely more hungry, severely more in touch with their beast. There's also something ludicrously addicting about the emptiness of Hestia's vitae. It doesn't have the usual hang-ups that you get with other kindred vitae that you've sampled. There's no enmity, there's no hate, there's no affecting essence of them in that vitae. It's as if for the very first time in your life you've tasted what real water tastes like. It is fulfilling and chilling, and it's invigorating because there's a small flavor there of the spring that you drink it from, but it is so crisp and clear and clean that it makes you hate the fact that you spent your lifetime drinking soda and energy drinks and coffee and tea, all flavored and pumped full of artificial sweeteners and various other substances to add to their flavors. This crisp, clean drought is significantly more refreshing than it has any right to be. And you've never realized that about Hestia's vitae until just now. And Hestia, would you be so kind as to increase your hunger by 1?
Oops.
Oop.
Also, Lucio is not letting Vivi get away, no matter what. Has she, like, already broken free, or is she...
Yeah, you can't hold her in tenebrous state, unfortunately. What you can do is wrap your way around her, create the pocket in the ether that you have, and drain what's inside. She just leaps free, because unfortunately, just like you, she is a denizen of the dark. She is possessed of all of that inky darkness that, well, lets you do all of those horrible things to make even kindred fear the dark.
Well, let's see if she could escape a tenebrous or a Arms of Ahriman. So that's exactly what Lucio is throwing up next.
I take it to mean with them both moving and Hestia not knowing how to move, but at some point they're going to move out of the space that she was in, and she just kind of flops to the ground. Confused.
Yes, I am going to at least move off of Hestia once Vivi is clearly no longer is no longer caught, and he's going to use the Arms of Ahriman to try and bring her back in.
Excellent. And one other thing, however. Phrasing, you're going to move off Hestia.
God damn it. There's no easy way to say it.
All right, so as this shadow, as this chair in the very fabric of the world moves along as if it has a mind of its own, what is left behind is the vitae-tinged, sweat-soaked form of Hestia flopping to the ground in the middle of the street. When Hestia hits the ground, it is clear that that chair may not be, in fact, a chair, both to Sophia and Miriam, who now has a mentally drugged and addled Dizzy in their possession. It is clear that as Vivi leaps very much Hulk-like from the shadow, that unlike other instances, unlike what happened inside the cafe, that she has no problems with the dark until as it slides along the ground like a man-made tornado, these long tendrils of oblivion lash out from beneath it. It is clear in more than one way that this is, well, the breachiest breach that's ever breached the breach that you've known has breached the breach.
Whose response are we waiting for right now?
That's a good question. You all see all this happening. Is there anything that you all would like to do?
Well, Lucio would like to drag Vivi back.
Hestia is going to attempt to sit up, but she is not a very happy camper. Tiny, angry person.
I was under the impression we didn't know where they were, so we're trying to tie up and stuff a Dizzik in the car.
Basically, though, remember you said the storyteller said you saw that big black spot tear in the world in the middle of the street. You got mad about it. It turns out that was Lucio and Vivi, not an actual tear.
All right, and so if you all look there in our OC, you'll see a rough map of where you guys are. The two red X's are Miriam and Sophia as they load the Dizzik into the trunk. The larger red X there on the northbound side of Clark is where Hestia drops, where the tear in reality formerly was, and the larger dark X on the southbound North Clark Street portion is where this column of Oblivion, the tear in reality that is in fact Lucio in this moment, is, with arms shooting towards the smaller black X, which is where Vivi had leaped to give you an approximation. And so that you understand, Clark in this particular area near Clark and Devon is in fact the major street in the area. So even at this hour of the evening, there is no shortage of cars moving, stopping, pausing, screaming with the denizens inside, trying to figure out whether they should take a call. Should they take their phone and take a picture of it, take a video of it, or call the police, or both? And while all of that chaos is happening behind you, where that little cocktail sign is, that's the Pancake House. That little orange building there is where all of those people who didn't quite make it are. And all those people who are coming to themselves from having been choked out by the very antithesis of life that is the oblivion that filled the space, they're there. Where that little arrow is, just shy of to mark the location, that little bulbous pin drop styled arrow, that's the window roughly that you all crawled out of. In this particular moment, all of these things are happening at once, and the reality of the matter is you're on a major thoroughfare with all of this happening. Vivi is attempting to fight for her life and leap free like the Hulk. Hestia is fallen to her thigh, hip, rump area after having an out-of-body experience. She was just sucked on by a vampire without ever having anyone put their lips or fangs on her. It is a most confusing of experiences because you don't get that sweet release of the kiss. You get suddenly the absence or lessening of your being all at once. So, what is everyone's intentions?
Well, Sophia is going to give Sylvia the look that says, "Put that bastard in the car." She's going to, as she's limping with purpose towards the black squares there where they are, she's going to ask Miriam to do something about all the eyes. And then she's going to start moving towards Vivi, glaring her down. And should she catch my attention, I will make it clear to her that if she wants to live, she needs to stop.
Miriam?
Yeah, that's how many people?
A lot.
At least you don't rouse for it.
It's true. It's true. It's gonna be a long night. Let's see. Is there anything I have that can make this go faster? Not really. Nope, nothing that I can do for a mass group of people. Got it. Yep, long night. So I will first go to, I would say, whoever is behind the counter.
Okay.
And you know, that was an incredibly weird natural gas thing, I guess. But we need ambulances.
Okay. Well, that being the case, my friend, what your highest level of dominate? How many dots do you have?
I have 2 dots. I have mesmerize.
Okay. Realistically, as everyone is surprised and caught off guard, there's not much that the average mortal who has not had any training will be able to do to stave off the effects of doing so. It's just a matter of time as to how long it takes. Can you get to them before they remember that they live a social media life where they have immediate access to a computer in their pockets and could call for help and to do something more than deal with their own shit and actually help the world around them. So to approximate whether you get to everyone in time through the slow battle of attrition of making eye contact and tossing out some story that in the moment has no choice but to be believed, but afterwards could be misconsidered and misremembered, would you be so kind as to roll your sheer brute force? Let's do your manipulation and dominate to approximate. Would you like to willpower?
Yes, I would. No, I did that backwards. Oh well. We'll just.
In every traumatic situation, in the after of it, sometimes even the during of it, a hyper awareness of the moment comes over certain people, and that hyper awareness, being able to view it from a distance and to interact with it in a removed sense of self, often helps people deal with and respond to stresses and traumas. It's a part of the states that a lot of first responders enter into. That's the reason why they're able to run towards the falling building or the burning building or the gunfire, because they're viewing it slightly removed from themselves and they're falling back on muscle memory of their training. That happens with those who are not in those professions as well, where they're able to view it from a distance and they're able to see it with a hyper awareness almost from the third person. They fall back on their instinctual responses. And as Miriam is making her way through the crowd of people, while she's making people inside the restaurant do their absolute best to forget exactly why they're in such dire straits, many of those who are coming to themselves take off. They flee the moment, not sure what happened, not caring what happened, but except for they know that there's danger where they are and they need to be elsewhere. They don't have the wherewithal to reach out to the police or anyone else, but they are definitely the sort who it would be easy to understand were panicked, but that's not exactly what happened. It's the absence of actual full thought and more the instinctual sense of self-preservation driving them to flee the area, driving them to flee where they could stop existing and to try to reach those places of safety and security that they've relied on previously. So homes, girlfriend, boyfriend's home, mom, dad's home, big brother, little sister, all those places that they have out there in the world where they felt safe, they take off. And while that's happening, Sophia is crossing the street. Alicia, would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus oblivion to resolve the intent of the arms of Aramin sprouting from this void in the world to wrap themselves around the fleeing Vivi.
I'm going to use willpower just to make sure. And somehow it's exactly the same. Not just the same number of successes, the same exact numbers on the dice.
Yeah, you only had the 1, the 2, or the 5, and you can't re-roll the 5. However, in the doing, and in his many past doings, Lucio has tapped into the absence of all things that is who and what he is at base, often enough that he feels the connection between him and it, as if he knows that it is not only his birthright, but it is what he is. He's becoming more that thing. As much as he attempts to hold on to a balance of his human seeming, every moment spent as he is utilizing what he is, he becomes more of it. And as Vivi leaps free, as Vivi attempts to Hulk smash her way into the world and escape this moment, to lick her wounds, to be free, operating off of instinct of the kindred, not the human mind that has been behind most of her actions. Caught in a moment of stress that is beyond her kin and recollection, she relies on her newfound strengths, which in this particular case turn out to be weaknesses. And as you wrap those tendrils around her fleeing form, dragging her back to the absence of all things that is you, there is a portion of you who knew it would always come down to this. You have every intention of draining everything that she is into yourself to reclaim the dark gift that you gave her, to have what is rightfully yours, the revenge of undoing, of unmaking. After all, you do have right of destruction. She is your progeny, whether anyone knows it or not. And as your mother had often told your sister, and you occasionally throughout the years, I brought you into this world, I can take you out.
And make another one that looks just like you.
I mean, in this case.
And just as you have Vivi in your grasp and you're dragging her back across the concrete towards you, towards this void and this absence, Sophia is there on your right. There is a look on her face that you have not seen before. And you've seen her at her nearly most angriest. The prideful rebuke that nearly cost both of you your lives. But this is something else entirely. And as Hestia collects herself and realizes what just took place, the absence of things, the absence in her being, the fact that Vivi is able to continue in her flight, what is Hestia's intention?
Well, she's going to get out of the streets first, because obviously that's causing a whole mess of problems. The people having to swerve around her. I think she'd be better suited trying to help Miriam with crowd control right now, despite the fact she's probably sweaty, blood sweaty. I mean, can be easily explained away. She has fog memories, so.
Okay. Cloud memory is much this much the same roll. Would you go ahead and make that roll for me, please?
Seems that extra hunger is kicking her butt.
So adding to the corralling of the humans, Hestia begins moving through them a pace of Miriam. It's one of those things, it's a small little thing in the grand scheme of everything that is happening and has happened, but connecting even just by proximity with someone who can potentially understand your life, someone who has the ability to do something similar. It's like two people who are artistically inclined meeting each other in the middle of an accounting convention. Oh my god, do you use Photoshop? No, I use GIF. Oh, you use GIF? Oh, look, here's what I've done. Oh, hey, look, here's what I've done. And sharing that moment is what happens between Miriam and Hestia as they begin augmenting the memories of those who are still left. It is not an easy thing, and it's not something that would have normally become easy at all to Hestia, but as she steps over with some person who is clearly asphyxiated due to whatever happened inside, that darkness that took over the restaurant, she, reaches past one who is clearly on their way out because there was too much of a stress on their lungs and heart, whereas before she would have been screaming, crying bloody murder at the loss of human life, and where she would have been attempting to do CPR. She would have been screaming to the heavens to try to bring them back. She may have tried to reach through into the other world and make sure they had a calm, easy passing. But no, they're just hurdles and obstacles on the way to do what she's aimed to do. Just make sure that no one remaining has any recollection of the last few moments, especially the terror and reality that she knows is now more than likely Lucia. And while they work diligently, applying themselves toward erasing memories and making sure people will never forget this night while never remember any of the details, Lucio, Sophia, you have Vivi, and it is clear that she's being pulled back to that chair in all things that, seems to be the hungry mouth of forever.
Is it possible for me to lock eyes with her?
Nothing is impossible. It's a little difficult that she's attempting to break free, but it is definitely within the scope of things possible. Probably even.
I will attempt to mesmerize her then.
Alright. You go right ahead and roll that in manipulation to dominate.
I am going to rouse my blood for some extra dice as well. And the beast does not like that. Alright, I get hungrier and spend some willpower, but that's 4.
You did indeed. And you managed to somehow not trigger Fate's slap across the face that happens when you tap too deeply, or not deeply enough, into the substance of magic. When the Dominate doesn't require you to go too deeply, when the presence doesn't require you to do more than skim along the surface, and Fate has rewarded you for hitting just the sweet spot of doing just enough. You are sure, as you have not been with most things, that it is in fact just enough. That if a hair's difference, and you're sure that the firmament of her mind would have expelled you as if you were an unpaid renter. And what is your wish? What is it that you provide her to do?
I command her to cooperate and stop fighting.
There's a huge monkey's paw in that. And you feel it instinctually. I just told someone who is clearly trained to fight. And that's how they show their cooperation. A contravening order. But instead of it being the monkey's paw and things going completely sideways, she relaxes. She looks toward the void that is pulling her into it, as if she is in fact going home. And as the darkness envelops her, it is 40 after the hour. We'll see you guys back here at 50 hours after.
See you soon.
All right, guys, how we doing?
Living the dream.
Unliving the dream.
Yes, immortality has its cost. Mary, you were back?
Oh, she went and died again.
We're good.
Oh, she's here.
You know, it's a shame. I literally need to probably update my playlist, because the moment you said she went and died again, I immediately thought, died in your arms tonight. Something I said.
There are worse songs.
Also, that applies more to Hestia at the moment.
Fair.
Sorry.
Why is everybody picking on me? I'm tiny.
That's why.
And stuck your hand through a vampire, a kindred, and tore away ribs and lung matter. But no, you're tiny. That's perfectly understandable.
I mean, it's fine. We're having a bonding moment here. It's fine.
I mean, the stabbing should have worked.
Here's the thing.
She's already dead.
Yeah. So, into the chaos that is this moment, with Sophia watching as the embodiment, because living would be a misnomer, but the embodiment of all that is the antithesis to life pulls the limp, relaxed form of Vivi into itself. When around her, the cars that had swerved, some going up on the sidewalk, some bumping the other's bumper, and this being Chicago, if there's no crash, no crinkle of metal, no deployment of airbags, there's a good chance that they move about their own remainder of the night. It was a hit and run. Even if they did it in a parking lot, it was a hit and run. Even if they know the person responsible for the damage to that vehicle, it was a hit and run, because it's usually far easier to get the car repaired, or at least get some attempt at being made whole if it was a hit and run. So, being as it is not far from a police station, that is in fact where most of the people may end up in the next couple of days. As Vivi ceases to be in this world for a moment, there's a certain quietude that falls over Sophia, looking past the void in reality that is now housing Vivi back towards where she came as Sophia, with Silvio standing mostly at the guard. Not that there's anything that a bullet might do if Sophia was swallowed by the nothing, but willing to do so, willing to sure thing his way into oblivion if necessary, to, much like Orpheus, walk into hell to drag her out. There is something unsettling, not disturbingly considering everything that she's experienced, just unsettling about watching Hestia and Miriam make their way through the building, making eye contact, and people going into fugue states. There's something unsettling about watching how accustomed these kindred are to chaos. It's like the actual meaning of snafu. Situation normal, all fucked up. What is it that Sophia is attempting to do?
Lucio, can you just not?
At this point, Lucio will reform back to his normal self. Can I not what?
I don't know, cause the largest mass breach in the city for the last 50 years?
Don't look at me. She's the one that started inking all over the place.
In a diner, and she left everyone dead. We need to go. Grab her. Let's go.
There's an alley not too far from here. Let's take her there.
There's a police station not too far from here either. Perhaps we should go somewhere else.
Fine. But maybe we should at least take care of any witnesses. I know you're better at that than me.
They're working on it right now. Some got away. You have to cross your fingers there.
There is a understanding as to what Murphy's Law is. It is, if something bad could happen, it will happen. And that is a state of being that the coterie has existed in for as long as there actually has been a coterie. Things have gone sideways, things have gone askew, things not accounted for has always come back and bitten them in the ass. And in this particular case, the biggest thing that they have not accounted for is the fact that there are so many witnesses. They engaged in an operation in full view of God knows how many mortars with the floor to ceiling windows. They left so many within view which were beyond their control. But here they are traipsing back across the street, dragging Vivi, who is limp in a way that most humans would never be able to approximate. It is a relaxed, completely at ease sense of being, as in the inevitable has been reached and only thing left is to turn off the lights and lock the doors as you leave. Getting back to the car, where would you all stash her? In the back trunk with Dizzy, or would you all keep her in the car with you all?
I'd prefer to keep her up front with us so we can keep an eye on her.
Can't talk to her. She's in the trunk.
Having completed your efforts at blinding and obfuscating what these people experienced, Miriam and Hestia, do you all return to the vehicle? Do you head back to the haven? Do you say enough is enough and just leave? Or what? What is it that is on your intentions to do?
Miriam just all she wanted was a nice dinner. And that's it. And the night has just been all fucked up.
Welcome to the coterie.
Everybody else is going back to the car, so Hess is going to go back to the car, and we're assuming we're either going to go back to the Haven or Sophia's, one of the two.
Either or. With the group.
So as you all get back into the vehicle, the question that has become de rigueur, has become habitual at this point, tumbles from Silvio's lips. So, what do?
Just drive. To nowhere.
Sure.
Do you think it would be too much to firebomb the entire block?
I mean, I did tell people that it was some natural gas, so, I mean, it wouldn't be too far, but I would rather not. That's lots of people. More people than I...
How soon we need it, boss?
Let me think on it first. This drastic thing. For now, just drive. And then she will look at our guest. And say, I only have one question for you. Do you want to survive?
I'd love to. So let's come to this, huh?
Let's help you. Help us help you. We just need you to cooperate and listen. I'm sure the others want to say a few things to you before we get into the spitballing of how we're going to accomplish what we need to accomplish and keep you alive at the same time.
It's that you painted too big of a fucking target on your back and ours. They sent us to kill you. If we were going to, though, you'd probably be dead already.
Dude, you threw a human at us.
Yeah, not cool.
I can't say that I'm surprised. It's funny. When it comes to killing your friends, you guys are very, very good. When it comes to dealing with other things, you'll get around to it eventually.
You know that hole in your chest right now? That's from Arsenio. Through me. Don't ever do that shit again.
But I did not. I wasn't the one who moved my target out of the way.
None of us should have been a target.
Yes, you should. I will stand by this, and you will deny it, of course, based on perception. But the truth of the matter is, nearly every member of your family, your friends of the shelter, have died because of your inaction or because of you choosing to end them. While your enemies are out there in the world doing what they do, living their best lives.
Are we done? Because technically we should have let your ass die too, but
You should have.
here we are.
We would have all been far happier.
Indeed.
Arsenio, or I'm sorry, Silvio.
Yeah.
Can you take us somewhere private? Somewhere where there aren't eyes watching.
Sure, I got a couple of places. I didn't get the news driving.
Go ahead, Vivi. Say your piece.
There's no peace to say. You all are better villains than you are heroes. You all are... Well, it was a pleasure knowing you from a distance. This is the only safe place around you.
I don't know how much you know about us, about the organization, the world you live in now. But there are two different organizations that very much wish you dead. We have been contracted by both of them to make sure that that happens. I would prefer that you are not dead. But if we cannot come to some kind of accord and way to make it happen, I will honor my agreements.
So, let me get this correct. Just humor me or not. This is your call. The body that gave you all powers as their police want me no longer in existence. And the Castigliones want me no longer in existence. And so you will ensure that your enemy and the persons who keep their foot on your neck receive what they ask for. That you were unwilling to avenge any of your, what is the word? Cabal, coterie that has died by the hands of your enemies. Dizzy ended two of your enemies because she was pissed and avenging her friends, her coterie. But you all let these people continue existing. Yet when it comes to ending your friends, your family by extension, you have no problem with this. I can't understand that. I don't know. But it seems as if, at the end of the day, you all are definitely bottoms. You like being breathed by your enemies.
You understand very little what it is to live this life.
I understand only what I have been shown, and that is nothing. Figured it out. Wait, be patient. We will let our enemies continue bending us over. And we will let our enemies continue taking people that we should care for from us. We will let our enemies use us as toys. But the moment we have a difference of opinion with a friend, a family member, we will end them. Because this is why you wanted privacy, correct, Lucio? You don't want anyone to watch you.
But you're forgetting the fact that that supposed friend / family member made it so that it was their life or ours.
It was always your life or mine. It was always your life. There's always
Good,
a choice.
I'm glad we understand it.
There's always a choice. And it's funny. You don't care where the money came from to found the shelter. You let your former security person die. You let... And there's so many things, but it is not my place. It is your burden whenever it is that you meet your maker.
Exactly.
Of course, how your lives affect those around you, you don't care.
Oh, exactly.
Did you care about any of the people you killed in that diner? The people that you killed. Not us. You. You let the abyss out in that diner. And all those people are dead because you just wanted to, what? Run away. A dozen lives, 100, doesn't matter to you, does it?
Does it matter to you? Did it matter to you? Did any of the deaths of your friends, your coterie members, matter to you? Did you work to avenge any of them? Did you take any of your enemies' lives, or was it handled by someone else?
Redwood is dead.
Was it by your hand? Did Redwood not have an organization of people to disseminate his truth after his death? Did you work to follow up on any facet of that?
Actually, yes.
Really? You found every little cachet that he's hidden across the internet. You tracked his mobile air-gapped server around the city, making sure that the word didn't spread.
That, no.
I see.
Followed up on a different path.
Oh, you made sure that his vengeance, though just and ill followed through, was actually carried out. You strung Ballard up because of his connection to him. Yes, I know about the banker Ballard and his connection to Redwood because I followed up. I know that Ballard has toyed with you nearly as long as Don Wojcik. And he's still out there. His fat, jowly self forcing himself upon his family members, having his way with them, draining them into him. In all manners you can think of using the word drain. And yet he's still out there. And you knew he's still out there. You didn't blitzkrieg any of his homes. You didn't hunt down any connections that he might have had, provably to Redwood. You let him continue existing. And then Don Constiglione. Because of my actions, he has left the city in the hands of his lieutenants, who are far less evil, who are far less problematic for the world around them. And yes, he's in the south suburbs, but I'm working on that. Did you follow up and harass and harangue him as he has done to you? No, you leave him out there to his own devices. And Blakeney, who sought your life, who ended your life, did you make a partnership with her? Did you join the enemy who is the enemy of your enemy, who killed you because of your association, though very thin, to your father, Don Castiglione? No, she's still out there. And Hestia, oh, how lovely Hestia. Sylvia, and all of her students. Sylvia's dead, but everyone who believed that she has believed, you have allowed to smear your name and to build their forces. I don't know you two. I was looking into you, but I have not very much to find, save that your connection with the Bahari. I don't know whether you are a priestess, you're an aspirant, whether you are seed to be planted. Do you know that the Bahari are driven out of the city because of the people in this car? That Arzuli, their nearest, dearest friend, they didn't bother to fight for. You know that Mama Walding disappeared visiting them?
Miriam will shrug. Not one. Just the art.
I see. Well, it's good for you all. You have another mercenary in your midst. Not to interrupt, but we're here.
Good. I was getting tired of hearing this.
There's a way to the truth. I'd love to say that it was nice knowing you all, but I don't lie. Are you going to get the door, or are you going to not be a gentleman either, Lucio?
Lucio opens the door.
Are there any intentions, any conversations, any steps that you all are taking at this point?
Should we do something about the guy in the trunk?
What guy in the trunk?
The guy you threw
Not
on
your
us.
concern, is it?
You didn't think you were going to walk away and not have collateral, did you? Seems kindred of all of us, even those who are self-righteous and cast aspersions on the horrible things that their brethren have done, have also done horrible things, huh?
You all can beat me because you have numbers on your side. Lucio can beat me in a stand-up fight because he has experience.
We don't want to fight.
I don't either. However, if you have someone in your trunk who I believe you might have, then I will very much fight you to the end. So, would you all do fulfill a dying request? Let the human go. If this is about me, if it is not about me and you merely want to be childish and petty and vindictive and kill the last human remaining fact of Dizzy's life, then let's have it.
would just like to point out, though, the fact that you put him in danger, throwing him at them. That's why they have him. So don't point the finger there.
I am
Don't
pointing
get
the
high
finger.
and mighty now.
I am pointing the finger.
No.
He was tossed at you. You all didn't have to kidnap him. You didn't have to put him in a trunk. You didn't have to do anything other than what you should have done.
You didn't have to bring him into this life.
I didn't.
Exactly.
I didn't.
I made him forget.
Just a point
You
of,
brought him back in.
just as a point of fact, he did survive whatever that black thing was.
Of course he was going to survive. I've done everything I can to make sure that he does survive as the last remaining factor of Dizzy's life.
I don't even know who that is.
I guess I really was her only friend.
As long as he is important to you and you exist, he is important to me. If that changes, then everything changes. Now we can continue to throw insults and spit upon each other, or we can come to some sort of amenable solution to this where no one dies.
What is your solution? What are you offering or demanding of me to keep this foregone conclusion from happening?
Well, the first thing we need to solve is the matter of how you came to be. Because if that were to come out, that is problematic. That would get you and someone else killed.
They didn't tell you? You don't know? How I came to be is right there.
Oh, I know. But we need to solve it so that the truth is obscured.
There's no way to solve that.
Is there not?
You can't change blood.
No, but you can lie about it. They're not going to do a test.
Okay.
Actually, Sophia, if she were ever caught, it could be done. I did it with Lucio. I knew who his sire was before he did, so it could happen. We don't want that.
So your solution is to just kill her?
No, but I would assume the best course of action was for her to not be here ever again.
Do you have somewhere to put her?
I can leave. There are plenty of other places. You don't want my help, you don't want my assistance, you want me to disappear. Either permanently in the grave or permanently from the city. Either one works the same.
I do want your assistance, and what I am offering is a solution for you to survive long enough to be of assistance. And beyond. What the rest of them want is their own matter.
And what do you want, Poppy? Do you want me dead? Is that it, Lucio? Do you want me permanently dead or just permanently gone? As far as anyone else can find out.
What I want is my family back.
You can't become human again, and your sister and Arsenio, they're in your place. I just saw them last week.
They're not.
The Dawn has them now.
Well, look at how that turns. I know where their compound is in the south suburbs. Do you? Have you mapped out the first two layers of their defenses? if they decide that this job isn't big enough to earn your family back to you, do you have a way to make sure that your family gets free from your family?
There's a reason we are talking, and you are not dusting.
Can I have a moment alone with her, please?
Do you think that is wise? You seem to antagonize her more than put her at ease. I mean, I'm willing to give to you. I just don't want the situation to degrade any further than it already has.
I want a moment alone, that's all.
Besides, I'm the one that's antagonizing her, so I will very much walk away. And Hestia goes back to the car.
Very well.
Be right outside the door.
And so we're alone, correct? You didn't happen to bring a pen with you, did you?
You're going to pull a John Wick and try to kill me with a pen instead of a pencil? She produces a pen and a notepad. It's leather bound.
Blakeney is aware of the compound. She is amassing a force to raise it to the ground as we speak. And as Lucio is saying this, he's trying to recreate the symbol that his visitor put on his wall so that he could find them later. What was that symbol, if it is something that he can recreate?
Oh, he can recreate it. The fact that it is seen to be burned into his memory is a bit weird when he thinks about it at this moment. And speaks to certain other aspects of what may have taken place in that small bit of conversation. It's as if he's always known that symbol, and he is sure that he had not seen it before that night.
Once this is resolved, I'm planning to help her. You would be an invaluable asset in that. I don't just want my family back. I want the Torres, Castigliones, I want them gone. I want them all destroyed. Ended once and for all for having the audacity to take my family from me.
But they've been working on that. I have nearly most of their courier routes mapped out. I have the first 3 layers of their security mapped out. And Dizzy needs to be let free. I am not joking. He is literally the last member of Dizzy's family that she actually cared for. Her mother died last week. It's the reason why I was going to stop by and see Faye and Stella. I've been watching over them as best as I can. I haven't talked to Arsenio simply because I know it sucks being shot, and you need time to heal after such a thing. And he wouldn't have been shot, but Hess just saved you, not him. She moved you out of the light of the shot. You would have been fine. It would have sucked. It hurts, just like this. And she motions towards her, the gaping, sucking wound that she had been slowly mending this whole entire time.
We've been thinking of some ways to get you out of this while making everyone think you're dead. It's not going to be easy, and there's a good chance that the jig will come up, but if you were to disappear, it would make your job a lot easier. And it would make all our lives a lot easier too. The only question is, how do we do that? If we can find a way to do that, then I will guarantee you his safety. Or hell, even if we can't, I'll make sure he's safe. I don't have the stomach for any sort of torture of an innocent. Not anymore.
So you took me out here in the middle of nowhere to send me on my way so that we can plot how best to kill me publicly and let me still remain free.
Yes.
She takes a step back, actually dumbfounded. It is clear that much like they say, in the moments of death, or when one believes that death is sure, the truth comes out, the truth of their character. And the truth of her character was that even upon her death, she's willing to accept, but she was willing to fight on behalf of the elder Dizzy. And that she did feel, and does feel, that you all are responsible for the death of your coterie mates. That your skills at separating entities from continued existence has always been turned inward. That much can't change, but her appreciation and her having to retool some of her thinking is clear.
As much as I hate to admit it, the fact of the matter is, you're right about a lot of what you said. Not all of it, but a lot. We've spent so much time being reactionary, being played for fools. We've let people important to us die. All while our enemies are free. It's time we change that.
I don't know what to say. I was not prepared for the opportunity of that being true. And
at this point, Lucio is also going to hand her the paper with the symbol on it.
And she holds out her hand for her pen as she's looking over the symbol. Well, back at the car, the sad fact of the matter is, Hestia, perfectly honest, of all of you all, short now that it is just you all and not Dizzy and Clyde and all of the others, you kind of have to admit that Arsenio was right. Lucio's really good at killing things. He thinks that that's usually enough to pay the bill. He's not the torture or make suffer. Something quick and painless. Sometimes painful, but something quick all the same. Leaving him alone with Vivi, if it was simply a matter of hand-to-hand skill, you wouldn't be sure who might come out on top. But they are more than just their physical skills. And it is, without a shadow of a doubt, you are sure that when it becomes combative, that Lucio will in fact end Vivi. She hasn't had enough time to learn how to be a kindred. She hasn't been through nearly as much, and it is clear that there are echelons to how dangerous the dark can be. Is there anything you would like to address once you get back to the car with Miriam and Sophia and Sylvia?
He is a good man when he wants to be. He's just high-strung. And I've been through a lot. The problem is he, while occasionally monstrous, is not a monster, unlike the rest of us at times. My problem is, if you want to keep her alive, or in some semblance of living, to use her as a tool, you're going to have to watch him, because if he presses too hard and she snaps at him, he will kill her quick and not think anything of it and hate himself later. But I'd rather not go through that. So if there is any way we can keep an eye on him and her without seeming like we're keeping an eye, that would be the best bet. You also need to figure out how to get a body, get her to pose as dead, make proof enough of it, and then change her face, and if we ended up needing another body, change them to look like her so that we have proof. Because that's the only way we're going to pull off this whole charade of her being dead and not dead at the same fucking time.
I have something working on that. Whether he'll show up or not, I don't know. But I sent a letter.
At the same time, I don't want to hurt Disick. I don't. I was one of the people that wiped his memory last time to get him to forget all this bullshit. And then she goes dragging him back in here through whatever convoluted means, and now he's caught up in it again.
I only brought him his leverage. I believe she has fed him her blood. I could be wrong, but he seemed rather resilient compared to everyone else that was suffocated in the cloud of death.
No, she hinted that she's been trying to keep him alive. So apparently she schooled him.
I mean, I can't speak to the ghouling part, but I could give him a physical.
Pretty sure that's what that means, or bonded him at the very least.
It is no matter anyway. I brought him his leverage. He's no longer needed. He can go on his way, though he will have to forget about us.
Not a problem. We can do that. Between Miriam and I, we can definitely do that. I just worry about how many times wiping his memory is going to affect him. His mom.
Just take from him what he has seen since we entered the diner. Just leave a blank hole. Let him puzzle over it.
He already
Perhaps
thinks,
that will keep him sharp.
he already thinks that it was a natural gas leak thing, so that's okay-ish. We glossed over the whole chomp chomp thing.
Estia looks between Sophia and Miriam. Chomp thing? What?
So I'm willing to let him go. I only brought him as leverage against her.
Can we drop him back off on the way through the city or something? Make him forget again.
Should probably pull him out of the trunk. And she'll look at Silvio at that point. If you could be a deal.
Sure thing.
He's going to be very cranky in the morning.
And as Dizzy is removed from the trunk, there's a strange bit of resiliency to him. Not simply because of, and not directly related to what you all may suspect has happened or transpired between him and Vivi, but there is a strength of well-used leather about him, a ability to bounce back, an ability to deal with it. Oh, they're aliens now. Okay, sounds about right. Oh, okay. The train is flying. Okay, cool. The car is swimming underwater. Okay, fine. We'll deal with it. It's that persistence to endure that is shining throughout. And as you all look on that, testament to the human condition, the willingness to adapt to anything and survive whatever it can, back in the alley, alone, there's a weight, a burden that grows lighter in the telling, in the examination. And standing here before Vivi, there's a lessening of the guilt inherent. There's a lessening of the burden that you carry. Doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just found a more comfortable place on your back. Your family, by dint of association, is in danger. And you are, in your best way possible, attempting to find a way to mitigate that and make sure those who have endangered your family can no longer do so. At the end of the day, with that symbol being passed, the information shared, what is it that is Lucio's intent? How does he see the next few moments of his and Vivi's forever going?
He genuinely wants her help in this because he knows that, number one, she's an extremely competent person who has already done tons of damage to their operations, but there's also a hint of, how do I put it? there's a genuine feeling of like wanting to care for his childer in this moment, of actually finally being able to fulfill his role in their relationship. And Lucio is going to try and also explain the specifics of the plan, specifically that Vivi will likely have to swap faces with someone.
It takes her a second to really contemplate what it is that you're attempting. But if they're looking for this face and they find this face dead, then why would they continue looking for this face?
Exactly.
Especially when it is not seen.
Speaking of not being seen, I never really got a chance to teach you anything, did I? There's... Oh, go on.
In regard to this darkness? No.
In regards to many things, but there's a trick that I found a while back that, while I'll admit I'm not the best user of it by any stretch of the imagination, it has come in handy on more than one occasion. My understanding is that most of our lineage don't take to this ability naturally, but for some reason, myself and it seems like my predecessors have some gift of it. I think I should help pass it on to you. I believe it's commonly called obfuscate, if I'm not mistaken. I can teach you some of the basics of it, of how to walk unseen. I think that would help your survival and, more importantly, help us ensure that this isn't found out. If you are able to avoid being seen altogether.
So when do we start?
The sooner the better.
And at the cart, as an agreement is struck, what is it that you all are intending to do with Dizzy? Are you going to push him out into the street and leave him to walk alone once you all take the last few moments for him? Or are you going to have him still remain in your company?
Who has an ability that can determine which we're going to go?
Cassia is going to get him into the seat, comfortable, and get eye contact with him and compel.
Okay. He will follow a simple command. What is that command?
Sleep.
Okay. Not exactly a command that he can immediately follow, and of course you can make him a little drowsy, you can make him he will definitely attempt to go to sleep, but with the adrenaline from being captured and surviving a threat to his life, sleep isn't going to come quite so easy. But that old trick about being in a suggestive state is definitely there.
Well, then, yeah, once he's in a suggestive state, Estia is going to just talk to him for a while and just kind of like talk him through forgetting most of everything that happened after the diner.
So you're keeping him in the car, in other words.
Yeah, we're keeping him in the car because it would be kind of messed up to just randomly kick him out and have him walk
Right.
home. I don't know where they are, so I don't know where it would be for him to try to travel home with the mental state he's in.
Okay.
Unless she recognized where they were getting out of the car.
Most back alleys in certain neighborhoods look almost exactly the same. Having an idea that you are no longer quite on the north side of Chicago that you're accustomed to is the real clarity of it. You're not near the lake at all. You're not in Rogers Park or Rogers Park West. You're not near the Howard area. You're somewhere else. Somewhere quiet.
Miriam, were you about to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, while Hestia was working her magic, so to speak, I was gonna try to get a closer look at those glasses that were so interesting.
Okay. Excellent. They're lightly reflective, Invisalign bifocals. They're surprisingly lightweight, even though you can tell that they are in fact made out of metal. And while all this is happening, Sophia, is there anything, Sophia, is there anything else that you are attempting or intending?
Nope, I'm just keeping my head down, trying to not let him get a good look at my face at this point, and just observing Hestia talking to him.
All right, sounds like a plan. So, with several things happening at once, with several trusts being established or at least hinted at, you all find yourselves preparing. The outcome of that preparation is still anyone's guess. Because at the end of it all, the opportunity for failure only comes when there's an opportunity for success. No matter how thin that success might be, no matter how glaring the failures may persist. So keeping the elder Dizzy kidnapped while Lucio has a moment of understanding with Vivi, we draw to a close with the coterie still in mid of their operations for the evening. The sun rises close enough to feel, but far enough away that one knows that there is still enough time in the night for chaos to have its way with you all. The truths that have abounded and the lies that have been cleared from the table still leaves quite a lot of room between perception and understanding. And with that thought in mind, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session, and I will see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night all.